Okay. I was going to say, I will be editing. I mean, it's videotaping right now, but I will edit around like anything or whatever. So don't like feel weird or anything or be like, please edit that out. You know, I can do that. And I'll be taking probably some pictures of some things too, as long as I'm not in the video. And thank you so much for having me.
Sure. Let me turn this off. Okay. All right, are we good?
Yeah.
Ready to start?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, fantastic. So team, my first grade team here, we are going to get started with our PLC. I'm just going to talk a little bit about our points that we're going to go through, and then we can dive into the conversation. So first, I have on our agenda to discuss our unpacking of our TEKs from after we've already done the work for our unit planning. And the whole purpose of this is to build clarity, have more clarity upon what we're going to be teaching in the next upcoming weeks, as well as getting a deeper meaning for what we are teaching and how to teach it based off of data, and also to build conceptual understanding as well. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what we have on our unpacking of TEKs here in front of you. So we chose a TEK based off of the middle of year REN data that we noticed some students were struggling with a little bit based off of the STAR Mastery data. And that TEK is, the student is expected to create mental images to deepen understanding with adult assistance for first grade. So we identified our verb, create, our content is mental images, and then our context to deepen understanding. We also have our academic vocabulary that we pointed out. We wanted to make sure that we touch upon, especially for our L students. So we have visualize, mental image, text evidence, and figurative language as well. We went ahead and wrote our learning intention for that, which is create mental images to deepen understanding. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our poetry unit that we have that we're getting into and see how we can build that conceptual understanding and deepen the meaning from this particular TEK. So we're thinking of this like as an overarching TEK, and then we're going to add the other TEKs that are coming up that we're going to teach and make sure that we have clarity upon what those TEKs are so that we can make sure our students are clear as well.
Perfect. Great. And this is a great one because it is the deepening the understanding within the mental images that we've got that embedded throughout all genres.
Exactly.
Of our content. So this will be a great one to look into right now. So,
And I think they've gotten off to a good start already. We've been able to collect some of their work and get deep in there and see what they're doing,
Right.
which has been nice. I've
Yeah.
enjoyed that. And so I think all of us, I brought something
Some work
some
samples.
examples that we have.
Of things
Okay.
that we've done.
so this first week we kind of wrapped up the structure of poetry and what the students noticing of it.
And it was really kind of eye-opening for me doing this, visualizing it that we did, because it helped me see that looking at the REN data, that I had some of my students that when I looked at their information they did for me, their poem and their visualizing it, that those were the ones that needed that deeper understanding mostly of
Right, there was a
imaging.
connection
It was the
between
imaging.
the two, yeah.
Yeah, so that's, I'm
that was
excited
very
about,
helpful.
I'm excited about going through this.
Yeah, yeah, because I noticed with the work samples, as we were collecting their stuff, that, some of them are doing it in black and white. Some of them are not using a lot of the evidence that is given to them. They're not thinking of the adjectives and things, and so, you can ask them like, well, are you seeing this in black and white? Well, when you read this, what did you visualize in that? What did you see in your mind? What did you picture? And that is getting them, and that's going into the, what do you see? What do you feel? What do you hear? And so breaking it down into that so that they can build their deeper understanding.
Yeah, really pinpointing
So,
what evidence they have
which
from the
part-
actual text.
And
Sure,
which
okay.
parts they're struggling more with, right? That they need to focus on a little bit more.
And I think this one was most helpful because like the question number 3 after they visualized the popcorn, actual poem, it said, what did the poet want me to visualize or image? Imagine, sorry. And when I was going through and looking and analyzing this, that was the one question that most of my students, if there was some kind of misunderstanding, was them creating that image. So it said, what did the poet want you to have an image of?
Right.
Right.
And so having that group, knowing now, I know where to go forward.
Right.
With that group.
And then going, sorry, go ahead.
It's okay, it's okay. I was gonna say, I noticed the same thing here at the beginning with where we are in the unit with, it was evident the comfort of them independent with, identifying the rhyming words and the sounds and why. But then the last two questions,
Right.
many of them, if they put anything at all, left it blank. And so that
Right.
immediately, group those kids together, because with where we are in the unit and having 2 weeks left, we've got, next week, we're gonna be focusing on how they're reading. Are they noticing the pattern and the rhythm and the rhyme?
Right.
And then identifying those rhyming words. But then that following week, to close up the unit, we've got the opportunity to look at what we see now in these misconceptions and really close it in, lock it in for that good, solid, independent
Right. And
So-
then I
comfort.
also noticed that some of my kids with the visualize and imagine, they were using their schema, which was great, but then it says you were supposed to use text evidence, and what
Right.
part of the, text evidence did you use? And then that's where they struggled a little bit.
So do we think that's
it's-
where we're a little bit gray there?
Yeah.
Is how to use the text evidence
Yes.
versus what your schema is? I mean, that kind of ties in, it reminds me with what I'm working on right now with a lot of my students with inferencing, right? And they do struggle with that concept.
Right.
So that's definitely something that we need to make sure is more clear for them, and what that means and looks like.
And I also thought
Yeah.
about, the poem itself, and I thought, it's about popcorn.
Right.
And so most of our students are gonna be coming with that background knowledge of popcorn. So we're giving them that they already have that background knowledge, prior knowledge to be ready to have that, to talk more deeper about it. So I like that we picked something.
One of the
Yes.
ones that we did on the cat, I asked them, I said, how many of you, when you closed your eyes, did you see a cat that you knew before? And they were like, the cat from Dreambox. I was like,
Yeah, right. Pulling that, and I think that's my
Yeah.
direction of where I
That's really
could, if I could move my kids, some of these kids further, I'm thinking, making sure that we're, I have the poems that have that background knowledge, something they know something about already.
Right.
A topic that they're familiar with,
Right.
so they feel comfortable and they're ready to dive deep into understanding and making an image
Exactly.
in their head, because they have already done something like that.
And I feel for me in my instruction in the next coming weeks, I want to be purposeful on the vocabulary, like these vocabulary words that we're highlighting here, because they see it again across the genres, visualize this, create that mental image. Text evidence is
Right.
gonna be huge.
So
They need to
teaching this
know
academic vocabulary with more
vocabulary.
intent.
Yes,
Like-
and with every unit that we go through,
Okay.
to go forward with as well.
I
So-
think too, looking in our planning guides that we have, when we go over our planning guides and our PLCs, each the times that we get together, some of the sentence stems, I think, as well.
That is
So
very helpful.
our language
Yes.
intention exemplars that the district gives us, it says, tell a partner about my describing words and what the poet used, using a sentence stem. So,
Okay.
giving them that sentence stem support to be successful. Tell a partner about a poem I read, the poem is about. So having opportunity for them to come together with partners.
Right. Yeah, partner talk with sentence stems is definitely very helpful for not just our EVs, but all of the children
Just
as
to
well.
get them started.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely, I mean,
So-
get the conversation going with their friends.
Right.
And I think as well as just doing those quick stop and jots,
Right.
stop and jot, okay, we just, you were talking about the cat, right? They talked about the cat, okay, stop and jot, make a picture of that, what are you seeing there? Making that image.
Absolutely, yeah, as much as we can bring writing into all of this, the better, right? These kids need to write authentically and not
Yes.
just just because we're asking them to sit down to write, but
Yes,
it's
just,
more of an authentic
be
manner
creative,
for them to grab the
exactly.
pencil. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
yes.
In looking at the assessments to kind of wrap up and finish our unit here, so for the next 2 skills with that, figurative language and identifying rhyming patterns and rhythm in their reading, what I know our idea is, that's pretty, having the students read a poem aloud and us, observable, listening to how they're reading
The
and the frequency
rhythm,
of
the
it.
rhyme, the
Do
beat
they
that they're
hear-
reading.
And that's gonna come after they've watched us model that throughout the week, so,
That
with
along,
giving them the
The
success
checklist.
checklist for this, like some of the things that we have so far, use my reading strategies, reading with feeling, and discuss the meaning of the poem. So are we good with how this checklist looks so far? Do you feel like for the concept of next week, is there anything we would need to add or want to look for any further?
Use my reading strategies. I think maybe we need to break down a little bit more clarity, especially for English language learners, like what are we exactly maybe looking for?
right, so one would be the actual decoding strategies, but 2 would be the reading with rhythm and rhyme.
Okay.
Okay.
I think both of those, right? And
Yeah.
then for them to know that it includes both, so we
Okay.
need to definitely
So we can do
update that. And add to
And I
it.
think, a visual with that as well. It's like a lot of times, some of our rubrics that we made, we put like a little picture next to it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
Yeah,
they know.
tapping, so they know
Right.
what
Or
strategy
like,
they're
Yeah,
using.
and that just
music notes
Goes
or
back
something.
to that clarity, making
Mhm.
sure that they are very clear about what
Mhm.
we're giving them, so that way
Yeah.
we can actually use the checklist as a
Because
purposeful
it's-
I
tool.
think it's just setting them up for success.
Absolutely.
Right.
Go ahead and have,
Got this in
a
front of
picture that
them,
goes with it,
then
yeah.
Right,
They're gonna know, yeah.
yeah. And then they'll have those checklists with their partners, and having them also go through this checklist with us and seeing if they feel like they need to add anything, right? Make them be
Yeah.
part of revising this checklist.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Like, we can give them the skeleton for it and then have them add to
And
it,
ownership over it,
Yeah.
for sure.
so.
All right, just a quick time check for 12:15.
Okay, perfect. And then the final week, I feel what we've done, the work that we've done so far, again, is a great measure of, how are we going to, we're going to take it one step further because we'll be towards the end of the unit.
Right.
And the expectation and the rigor will be a little bit deeper. So are any other ideas besides this, looking and identifying, or do we like this assessment setup?
I like how that one, I do like they were able to, it had everything actually in there that we needed to know. So I think that one went well.
Yeah, I think collaborating together and creating this was very helpful and
Yeah.
trying to
Because
make sure that they had, that it would give us a good information on what we need to continue focusing on.
But I feel like my students were it's easier for them to see the ending of the words, the op, and then it was at the end of the words.
Maybe
because
like
it-
a choice.
It ties along so well with our phonics lessons that we're doing.
Absolutely.
Because we're learning about those ending sounds.
Yes.
So, that was the one they did very well with. I could see a little bit more, with the last two,
Struggle
right?
with this.
Yes, so how
Yes,
could
those are
we
the twos.
expand this out to make it,
Well, I think that's where the feel, see, and hear comes in.
Yeah.
Right, so
Yeah, then
maybe
we
we
can
could
do that.
add one of these, a chart, like have the
Yes.
poem on top and.
Yes.
I was
the
just going
chart
to mention that
system.
because
Yes.
one of the tweaks is to notice that the authors are using words that help the reader see, feel, and
Yes.
hear to build
Yes.
upon that visualization.
Right.
I felt like that
Uh-huh.
one was maybe left out, so I think if we
Yes.
include that, then we're hitting all
I
of
agree,
them.
I
Right.
agree. Because we do want to stretch that out.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
mine have had some practice with this already, the feel, see, and hear, and I've
Same.
been successful with it. So I think if we just keep practicing with it,
Mhm.
and then
It'll
have it
help.
at the end, then we'll be able to see that that growth over time, because that's what we're looking for, looking to see, were they able to,
And that's
to
what-
show the understanding.
Yes, because the first time I did this, I noticed that there were a lot of gaps. And then we talked about it and I modeled, and because I was trying to get like a pre-check on what do they already know, what are they struggling with.
Right.
And then after I modeled, and then we did another one this morning with a shorter poem that had a lot of adjectives. You want to see this one?
Yeah.
And unlike.
I noticed that they did a lot better, and some of them had a lot of really good details.
And that's what I've been
So,
noticing with mine,
yeah.
is that they're pulling out those key words that are in the poem, and then being able to fill in how it makes them feel, so I would actually like to see that chart on our
Right,
list.
and it helps them to visualize it, right, to actually get that deeper understanding and that picture,
Yeah,
detailed picture.
And I think
so.
for the feel part, a lot of times our students think that we're talking about like tactile feeling,
Right, yes.
Which is
So we can-
It's true, but we need to give them maybe the visuals of the emotions. So
Exactly.
something as simple as an emoji that's showing,
Yeah.
the emotion of embarrassed or of excited, cold, whatever the feeling could be, right?
Exactly,
And
and even
highlight
like
into
the
that
character
Wellness
traits
Wednesday.
too. Well,
Yeah,
I was
because-
gonna say even character
Because
traits.
we don't
that-
want to hear
Yeah.
sad and happy over and
Exactly,
over
yeah.
again.
Right.
We have on our plans that we've been talking about for next week, where they have a chart, and then it's always in their notebook, their response notebook, that has all of the different feelings
Yeah,
of.
that's.
Yes.
So that is something, absolutely, we can.
Because we
We
want,
can
and
tie
we
that
also, we need to think about our students who have mastered this,
Yes,
right? So
right.
I'm sure you have a handful of kiddos in here who are proficient or above in this particular assessment that you gave them. So then maybe we can challenge them to use some higher level vocabulary for the feel, see, and hear in their responses.
Absolutely.
Right, yes.
And I like using them as like group captains, like when they do, that purposeful pairing, so, give them that good,
Yeah,
that
I
tactile
like
protocol
that.
feedback. And when they are with, the lower performing ones, it gives them that sense of confidence, ownership, like I can
Sure.
That
help.
leadership,
And I-
that trait, that I know this, I can teach this.
And I think too, the students that we are seeing that might have struggled with that poet wants to me to visualize or imagine, we can also pull that out obviously in our small group, when we're doing guided reading. And
Right.
we're pulling, and we're doing conferencing with the students. We can say, hey, let's look at this little poem, and looking at just these kids and say, I'm gonna come over and I'm gonna look to see what you're reading right now. Let's see, can we do a quick sticky note visual, a sticky note sketch? And then talk about that sticky note sketch. What is that sketch showing us? So to assure that when we have this next assessment that we're talking about at
Right.
the end with the feel, see, and hear, that they're gonna have that little bit of extra.
And so like on these checklists, like what do y'all feel about that? The kids self-assessing, adding in the third column, like high confidence, I could help others.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah,
we check in with that during the week. and
Right, yeah,
that
yeah, we
allows
can
them
add
to-
that.
yeah. Or I got that and I can help others.
Yeah, I can
So
help.
that they
Yeah, so
know,
like 3 different
I
levels instead
understand,
of
I
2.
understand, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna be able to help somebody.
I like this, I feel like we are in a good spot, we've got a good plan, and like ready to support this teeth that so timely, came up,
Right.
that
Mhm.
it's
so
an
quick.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is,
Yeah.
yeah, it's perfect
And so
timing
it
right
just
now.
proves how.
and I think that visualization is continuous, it is actually continuous through all of
Yeah.
the different grade levels, and it's something that
Genres,
they're all
genres,
gonna need that
Yeah.
extra support with, so as much as we can
Absolutely.
get them to stop and jot and sketch, and then, like next week, we have the sick poem, and there's, they act it out, they can hear the voices, they're gonna
Right.
feel the voices being, whenever they hear this poem, so, even if it's like a short video, that they see it read
Yeah.
aloud, they're gonna feel the inside of what that person
The
feels.
character.
So I think we're definitely gonna get that,
Yeah.
to them, and then just repeatedly practice it throughout, each of our units, so that they're ready for
Mhm.
the next step.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so I've added some action items in, creating visuals, add the feel, see, hear chart to our assessment, Having kind of like the visual of like a word bank as well for the emotions and feelings to
Yes.
support.
Mm-hmm.
Sentence stems as well, and making sure that we're bringing in writing with those stop and jot
Yeah.
notes to build upon the mental images as well.
Yeah.
Okay, am I missing anything?
No.
No, I think that's
we're
good.
Okay, awesome, this is good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is helpful. Very helpful. I'm ready to close.
I'm gonna have my kids who had really good details, sit with my kids who didn't have as good details, and just say, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
You read this, what did that mean to you? Or I read this, and this is what I pictured in my mind, so that the other children can see that too.
And I'm gonna definitely do that small group where I'm, those ones that I know that are, when I saw this, you know, they're gonna need that extra time. We're just
Right.
gonna do a really short poem I found about an apple.
Yeah.
And it's about, I talked to you guys about that, about this apple, and mom cuts it in half and shares it with another person.
Right,
So-
and they can act
And
it
that's just
out.
so something
Yes.
that they're gonna identify with, because they have prior knowledge of it.
Right.
So in small group, I can just really talk about that apple.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they can understand, even if we have some kids that have just, come from,
Right.
you know, another country just
are.
recently, and
Absolutely.
they're pulling those really good, strong poems.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Good. Good work, ladies, thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you.
bringing all of these work samples.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
The ideas are great.
I wanna take some pictures of some